Outer Orange.
Hey guys, what is up? Outer Orange here today, and we're doing another profile. That's right, you thought two weren't enough. Here comes the third one. We have another top for VPREMIUM. The homie's name is Sakib, and we're doing a whole deck profile, so let's go ahead and check that out. See you there, guys. We are here, and we have our wonderful winner. What is your name?
Hey, my name is Sakib Hossein. So I got second place with my team for VPREMIUM at Duluth, Georgia Spring Fest. I played Vanquisher for that day, actually.
What is the win con that you wanted to take for you? Wait, how did you win with your deck? What was your goal every single round?
So usually when I play like card games, especially I play more than just Card by Vanguard, but Card by Vanguard is more my competitive game. I usually A, look at my opponent, B, read his cards. Reading is very important, people. Make sure you do that. And C, I always look at the game state of my opponent, see their damage, see their field, see their drop zone. If any of those three are like anything strange or like I know I might have some problems with, I'll play accordingly.
Awesome. Okay. And then you mentioned you wanted to discuss your rounds a little bit. So tell me, what was your experience in Swiss rounds?
So Swiss rounds, I went X2 in Swiss actually. My teammates also went X2. We ended X2 actually, but we were undefeated until round 5. Lost against third place after Swiss and lost against first place after Swiss. So our ranking was pretty high in terms of tiebreakers, which is why we got into top 8 as a 5th place.
Awesome. And then in top 8, how did that go?
Top 8, so our top 8 match was against, they had such a bad and unfortunate time because the judge, after their deck check, they did not allow them to actually shuffle their decks after top 8 deck check. So they actually played with an unshuffled deck, and they all bricked. All 3 of them bricked and drew grade 3s, grade 2s, and all of that. So unfortunately they lost because of that. We were pretty sad because I asked them to make sure you shuffle very properly. How they told me about it. They said they were fine. They didn't want to just shuffle as much, but they all bricked unfortunately, and then they all lost in such a bad way. For top 4, we played against Team Ragnarok, who was the 4th place team, who was part of his locals also. I played against the B player, who was running hot that tournament and was undefeated the entire time Swiss and in top 8. But I'm his only loss for that tournament because I did beat him. I actually lost to him previously. He was one of my losses in Swiss because we played him round 4, but my team won that. So it was my run back and I did win that. Finals, played against, of course, the winning team. It was Andrew Williams. He played Grand Blue. Double critted me, put me from 0 to 6 in 1 turn. So I was like, okay.
Wow, that is nuts. Hey, did you want to go ahead and get into the deck profile?
Sure, let's go right ahead. So, beginning, we have our starter right here, a Barrett Draco kit. Any starter really works. I personally ran Spark Kid Dragoon, unfortunately. I kind of misplaced it somewhere, so I found this one, and then that's what I'm using. So, here you go. So, I'm going with grade 3s first, of course. So, of course, I'm going to start off with the Vanquishers, actually. So, I actually ran a 3-3 split of Full Bronto and Dragonic Vanquisher. I feel like, personally, you don't really want to ride Vanquisher more than once because this deck really focused on drawing too many cards. When you keep on drawing, you do draw too many triggers. You don't want to draw too many triggers because you do still want to check triggers with this deck. If you hit 1 trigger, if your opponent hits 1 trigger into damage, then it can still hit. But if 2 triggers are hit, then you can't really hit your opponent's Vanguard anymore, other than using Shatura to attack. So really, the Vanquisher is to ride, and the Full Bronto is as that extra Vanguard attack to really swing for that extra damage. And that extra show marker really helps out for extra cell circles, extra attacks, extra areas so where you can replace your rear guards. And then we have 4 Jaggy Shot Dragoon right here. I think you have to run 4. If you run any less, then I don't know. It's really just such a pivotal card. The most powerful card that allows you to multi-attack because it draws you 2 cards instead of 1, and it binds a rear guard on attack. Like that on attack effect is so powerful just because you're able to trigger Rising Phoenix, you're able to trigger like your effects in your hand. You can trigger Full Bronto while it's attacking, make this a 22k attacker when it was 12 during that first grade 3 turn. So really this is probably your most pivotal binder in your hand. For our grade 2s now, I'm running a 4 Dragon Dancer Barca and then 4 Rock Climb Dragoon, and these are the cards that also bind like Jaggy Shot Dragoon right here. So really, if it wasn't for the fact that you can't bring grade 2 back row up to the front row, I would run a Voltic Shred, honestly. But because of how V format is really structured and how Dark Kami is structured to only bind front row, Dragon Dancer Barca is more necessary because you want to get rid of more rear guards. And then, of course, these two are your other pieces that allow you to bind the Shura, Full Bronto, and Chainbolt Dragoon to extend your attacks for a single turn. Rockham Dragoon allowing you to draw a card without binding a card from your hand, so it'll just be a plus. And then Barca allowing the bring to the front row, being the end of battle. And of course, we have one of the key pieces that allow for the multi-attack with the Shatura. I mean, there's nothing to really explain for Shatura, or else you're not really playing the deck properly.
Or else you suck.
Then we have 4 Chainbolt Dragoon, also 4 of. Also, if you don't play this, I don't know, at 4 of, I don't know what you're doing really. You really need to draw these cards. If you play any less than 4, then like you're minimizing the chance of you drawing these during a multi-attack turn where you really want to kill. I did actually lose against Alan, the top 4 player, because I did not draw my last piece. I played 4 of 4 and I still didn't draw it, and I needed one more attack to push, and I lost that game. So it's really just important for me just to play these at a maximum. Full Bronto not so much because it's a card that rides, and really, it doesn't really push that much, and if you draw too many of them, it only activates once per turn. These activate multiple times per turn, which is really why you have to maximize them. If you can kill them in 1 turn, you kill them in 1 turn. If you can't, you push them in a bad position where they can't kill you in a turn. For Mighty Bolt, it's the same thing as Chain Bolt, where if you just ride them, you do search for Vanquisher for Chain Bolt, and for this, you can also search Jagged Shot being such a powerful piece. And now for some discrepancies is Rising Phoenix. I personally play 3 copies. Some people might say 4, some people might say 2. I personally like the 3 because I really emphasize the grade 2 count being at 12 because of how necessary it is to bind cards from your hand for that multi-attack from Shatura. Rising Phoenix is such a great card to guard from your hand because it's just a free card no matter what after it's gone from your hand. Each time you bind a grade 2 or anything in the front row, it comes back out and you can attack with it again. During your a powerful push turn, what you can usually do is with Full Bronto. Right here is after you bind with something like Jagged Shot Dragoon, you ride Full Bronto, get an Excel Circle, draw, then you trigger Rising Phoenix, calling them out. Then Full Bronto triggers get a 10k to the front row, which means the 10k is applied to these Rising Phoenixes, and you just gain an Excel Circle. But that allows for Rising Phoenix to hit for 26, actually. So one neat interaction you have with that deck right here. And for the triggers, we really have just 4 heals. We have 6 draws right here, and then we have 6 crits. I feel like in this deck you need to really just run 6-6 lineup because this is a piece relying deck, and in drawing the Shatura, drawing the Full Bronto, drawing the Jagged Shot, drawing to any of the grade 2s, any of the Jagged Shot specifically, and then like Chain Bolt is such a powerful thing to do, which helps further the game-winning plan that you have. And these crits are really, because you really can't run fronts in this deck, to be honest. And like, because you keep on replacing rear guards, you're not really keeping the same rear guards on board every time. So crits are mainly the more push factor for this deck. And then like, I mean, killing your opponent is pretty good. So killing faster is even better. And Heal Guardians, I actually debated whether or not to run just the 20k heals. Sometimes I did feel like I wanted 20k heals more. The grade 3 Guardian it comes up only during like matchups where I feel like I'm gonna get rushed in. Like the finals match, I didn't see this, but I was still lost at that point. But honestly, I felt like these were just a little more better. But either way, either or is better. Excel decks really sometimes can play either the 20k shield or the 15k shields most of the time.
Interesting. So actually, out of everything I saw here today, this right here was probably the most interesting part I saw. Most people I see run like the full crit engine and cut down on the draws. So I thought that was interesting. You really need those pieces that badly, don't you?
So like, I personally, in my opinion, feel like a piece relying deck needs to put more draw triggers than more crits. You're trying to kill your opponent without checking these crits as much. If you check this in damage, you draw an extra card. What you really cannot do in this deck is guard with your pieces, which is a main problem of Vanquisher. Really, is that if you guard with like Chain Bolt, you guard with Shatura, you lose the amount of attacks during your next turn. So you had to this deck really you have to plan a few turns ahead instead of planning really on that same turn, because like if you have a deck like say Gurguit, which you just call out cards from the top of your deck and then just call cards during your opponent's turn, then you don't really need to plan as much. because they always go back to your hand, and you can keep on replacing the rear guards. But for Vanquisher, because of how it works with your hand so much, you really need to just keep on checking how many cards are off your deck, how many cards are gone for you to combo with, like Vanquisher, Full Bronto, Chitura, and and Chainbolt Dragoon, and how many cards you can bind with your hand, because Rock Climb and Jagged Shot gets rid of themselves as soon as their skills are used. So you always gotta keep in check. So I feel like the draws, just to keep on replenishing your next turn is always better than just having this lineup is just 8 crit.
I have one more question. So a lot of people, now you probably know the name and I don't, is that there's that grade 2 that says when it restands itself or at counterblast.
So you're talking about Cho-Oh.
Cho-Oh, yeah. So how come you don't have Cho-Oh in your deck?
There's a lot of builds that do run Cho-Oh. One of the top 8 players did run Cho-Oh actually in their list. And then I personally don't like Cho-Oh because with Vanquisher, how you usually attack with your deck is you really multi-attack by replacing rear guards. So what you really want is having rear guards that don't want to stick on the board. Cho-Oh, I don't like because it sticks on the board and it occupies a circle that really sometimes you want to replace it instead, have that extra attack.
Okay.
I do understand the notion where Cho-Oh is like, if you put all the triggers on Cho-Oh, it's like that sticky attacker that will hit for a lot. But I also value the counterblast a lot because Cho-Oh eats a lot of counterblast in a turn. And then you probably will not be able to use Vanquisher as a skill for the next turn.
All right, awesome. Give me a pound. We're doing a pound.
Nice shout out to Brian Everson and Cameron Stewart for allowing me to battle cards during this weekend in order for me to get these tops and stuff. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sakib. Till next time. Bye, everybody. Peace out. До свидания. See you guys next time.